Hello, this is the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast.
Hello! Good evening.
This is episode 21. My name is Chris.
My name isn't Chris.
And mine's is Euan. Mine's
is Euan. And the other person that's trying to be funny is Pawel.
I never try to be funny.
The resident comedian. How you doing, lads?
pretty good, yeah.
I'm actually awesome.
You're always awesome, though.
But I'm also awesome today.
Digesting a morsel of Subway that Pawel dedicated. I don't understand how you can always turn up with too much Subway.
It's becoming a tradition.
Oh yeah, he comes in here with his, oops, I got a foot long instead of a 6 inch.
I don't know.
No, it's just people in Portobello keep upselling me sandwiches. They look at me and they think,
then you don't eat it.
You look like a foot long lad. So they just sell me stuff and I buy it.
I'm very curious how this arrangement's taking place.
I mean, if somebody's telling you like a foot long lad, they might be talking about something else, Pawel.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go there.
You had a nice little smug grin on your face there.
So that's episode 21 for you people. No innuendos at all.
Right, well, how's our gaming life's going? It's starting to come into summer and we're not doing that
it's
much
been a bit
anymore.
slow. I think the sun's come out and you're worried about being frowned at by people.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go to barbecues and stuff like that. Or
the thing is, I've settled in Scotland because there was supposed to be no sun, so that I could just play games and do nothing else. But instead, there's sun here now.
You're getting annoying invites.
We have the odd day now and again.
But yeah, plenty of games around. I think it's actually the high season for releases. Having said that, we've not really played that much.
Or they, I say in air quotes, playing it.
There's just so many games coming out.
Releasing loads of games at the start of summer.
Come on, I have a whole schedule in my head. All the days off I have to take.
Who's going to buy it? The kids are all either outside or on holiday with their parents in Mallorca. What are they,
Specifically Mallorca.
They're all in Mallorca. all the children are in Mallorca.
I have to go to Mallorca now.
Yeah, they're not going to be playing any games there.
I'm pretty sure they have games in Mallorca.
I wouldn't take any. They should be in the pool.
They should be.
Or the sea. Some body of water.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would go to Mallorca for. But maybe with a board game or two.
Oh, board games alright, I suppose.
Yeah.
It can be done, as we discussed earlier, outside, if you really, really try and are prepared to sacrifice
we wouldn't
parts
recommend
of your
it,
board game.
Sunshine and boards do not go well together. Warping galore.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was episode 21 of Euan's Holiday Bonanza, so thanks for listening.
My little sub-podcast.
Euan's Mallorca advertisement.
Taken over from Jill Dando. I started years ago.
Is she still dead?
It's just, apparently so.
I think she is still dead.
No conspiracy theories attached to there.
Nah, there's none at all. Right, let's talk about some gaming, because that's what we're here for.
Yep.
This podcast is about gaming, so...
Yes, please, because I just got lost.
You probably don't know who she is. Yeah, we're going to start with some board games this time. I think we did video games the past couple of times, so let's go into board games, and what a board game we've got.
It's
what
a big box full of board gaming goodness.
I'll just sit back and let you guys...
sing its praises.
Rhapsodise on Rebellion.
So, what have we been playing, Pawel?
We have been playing Star Wars Rebellion, is it?
Yes.
Rebellion.
Star Wars Rebellion.
Which is an awesome game.
Now, Star Wars Rebellion is a game from Fantasy Flight and designed by Cory Konieczka, who is the same guy that did Descent and stuff, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is.
His name's popped up a few times.
Yeah, it has, he's very much tied to Fantasy Flight. He does a lot of stuff for them.
He's in a basement locked up somewhere.
Yeah. In fact, he did Descent, he did Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures with a bunch of other people. He did Eldritch Horror, Forbidden Stars, blah, blah, blah. Quite a lot of the big themey games, that's what he's into. So yeah, this is man, this is a hell of a game. This is shot straight up in my into my top 10, I think.
I want to play it again and have my revenge. To be fair, this would already be first point in my assessment list, sort of. That this is one of those games where you lose, because that's what I've done. I've lost quite terribly, and you still feel like you've had a hell of a time.
Yep.
And have done a lot in the game. You don't feel cheated by the game even when you lose. You don't feel like your hands were tied. It was a good duel.
It was a good duel. But
you played it canonically.
The better man won.
No. The better, morally speaking, the rebellion won because we were trying hard actually to enact the actual movies.
No, that's what you were doing, and I suckered you into that.
I'm sorry, but your first rebel base was in Yavin, and your second base was on Ender.
Yeah, but that's not where the second base is in the...
Well, that's true, but that's because you were afraid.
And I did make you think it was on Hoth, which was nice.
You were afraid of my General Veers and his
General Veers did not bother me in that game at all, alright?
I'm sorry, but at one point, he was really quite close to winning the game for me.
Right, well, let's go into what this game actually is then. So it's been described as the Star Wars War of the Ring, which is a reference to another board game.
I suppose it makes sense because it's got this dual thing going on,
Yeah.
whereas there's strategy and all the big military things on one side, and there's plenty of single hero actions on the other side.
Yeah. So basically, it's just it's played on a board, which is just basically all the planets, or not all the planets, but a bunch of the planets in the Star Wars universe.
We're so good, we've even recognised some of the names. We're really well versed when it comes to Star Wars lore.
I really hope Naboo's on there.
Naboo is on there.
Oh, that's quality.
It was, yes.
Good. Hope they're under a trade embargo.
You said that really with a better tone. It's Star Wars Episode 1. It is like a film about space politics, isn't it? And trading embargoes.
That's the best. It's the best bit of the whole saga. It's where it finally starts to grow up and teach kids about economics
and chemistry in the falls. Right. There were no midi-chlorians in Star Wars Rebellion. But there was a fair bit of Jedi villainy and scum running about, and I was trying hard to capture all those Obi-Wans and
really
tempt them into the dark side. However, unfortunately, Obi-Wan just laughed in Vader's face.
And he was then rescued by the Millennium Falcon, if I remember.
He was, yes, by a Wookiee in a Millennium Falcon. Honestly, this is another great bit about Star Wars Rebellion. It actually bloody felt like the films.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a game that's
really
using the
captured
franchise.
Yeah.
It was a game that actually captured it a bit.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, what you're basically doing in this game is that you've got a bunch of units and stuff like that. So you've got the Empire has so much more ships and ground forces and stuff like that. They're just there to overpower basically, and the Rebellion don't have that many.
Yeah.
And Pawel just slapped his head.
This was a faceplant moment because Chris described it quite accurately. However, what happens during the game is you actually convince various planets and systems to support the rebellion and grow your forces to pretty much, twice the size of the Empire, whereas the Empire, that was me, sits around thinking, I'm mighty. I'm supposed to be terrifying and intimidating. And then you just realize, holy shit, there's a fleet twice the size of mine all around me. I'm supposed to be scary here. I got demolished.
You did get demolished. That was the turning point of the game. Where I basically, you were building up a force, and you tried to build a Death Star in this one sector, and I'd pretty much taken all the sectors around it, and then just started growing the forces up on there. And you just didn't seem to realise that I'd completely surrounded you.
But the way it looked, just to me, just look at there weren't that many rebel units just in the game.
Yeah,
anyway.
there's not.
It didn't really seem like it would be possible to have a rebel victory out a straight up military victory.
But I think this is again what you see in the films. You don't see in the films Rebel Alliance suddenly having a bigger fleet than the Empire.
Yeah.
Rebel Alliance always wins by
Accomplishing a mission.
Just this one strike that accomplishes something, which is really what our game was about as well.
Yeah.
At some point, Chris had to try and win by having this one decisive battle, and so again, just a film feeling.
Yeah. And it definitely feels like that, but I mean, the two sides play very differently. Like, if you're playing as the Rebels, it's a totally different job from playing as the Empire. Because the Empire's job is to find the Rebel base.
Yeah.
Now, they have to find the Rebel base and then basically take it over by taking the sector or blowing the planet up with a Death Star. But the Rebels can move the base if they want to, so they've got certain action cards that you play during the game, and you can move the base, and that happened, once in our game. I moved the base once, but you found the base both times. You just didn't manage to hang on long enough to destroy it.
Indeed.
But, like, yeah, the Rebel side, like, when you're playing them, they do missions, like you say earlier, Euan.
Yeah.
You basically do missions.
You showed me some of that.
Aye, and there's a turn marker thing, turn track at the top of the board. Now, you've got a Rebel marker that starts at, I think it's at 16 or 14, it's about there.
Yeah.
And by doing those missions, you can move that Rebel marker down, so you can go for 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, blah, blah, blah. Keep on moving it down. Now, the turn marker at the other side is going up every turn. Mm-hmm. And the way the Rebels win is if those two markers meet, they've held on long enough to get enough support in the galaxy.
Which means
to
time
win.
pressure is on the Empire.
It's on the Empire, yeah.
Rebel player wins by default. Which means the Empire cannot just sit what's the word? Complacent?
Complacent, yeah.
Which is the way I was sitting there, just like, I pretty much ruled the galaxy. Let's see where they are.
It does sound like you have to be swift and brutal if you're going to be the Empire in this. Like, you just have to crush
Pawel, right, I mean, I'm going to say this now, but one of the biggest mistakes you made, Pawel, was letting me get all those sectors.
Yes, that's
so
very
quickly
true.
in the game.
Yes.
Because then I just built up a force which you then did nothing about. You let it build up around you.
No, the Empire would never let
I'm
that.
going to say there was plenty of mistakes and plenty of learning as you went through the game. I particularly like games where you, as you go through the game, you still you keep learning. I mean, it's fine if you. Obviously, you want to learn rules as fast as possible, and if games are very complicated, and by the time you're finishing the game, you're still unsure how to do things, then maybe there is a bit of a rule overkill here. But in Star Wars Rebellion, the rules are pretty simple, but the amount of things you can do and reasons to do it is astonishing. So I was actually struggling with. And not really what to do, but how to do it, because there was so many ways to do things in Rebellion, and instead of just focusing on one strategy, you kept getting tempted to do various things, thematically correct things, and thematically exciting things. So I just kept distracting myself with a whole lot of things, which was again entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see that coming. So all those agents, both on the Rebellion and the Empire side, are usually good at one thing, or sometimes in a number of things. The Princess Leia was pretty much brilliant at everything she was doing. They basically have skills that allow them to perform certain types of missions better or worse, or block certain types of missions, and it boils down to that. So rules are very, very simple.
That is straightforward. It's like you say, when you're doing missions, you just basically put a card. You put your cards out face down and assign the heroes to them, then to what they're going to do. And you can oppose them if you're on the other side and blah, blah, blah. But generally, it's just a symbol matching game, isn't it?
Indeed.
And then if it's opposed, you just roll some dice to see who wins, basically, to see if the mission happens or not. But it's really straightforward, you're right. The rules are they're really streamlined. It's brilliantly done, I have to say. The rules are brilliantly done to get you that Star Wars feel.
But if rules are simple, and then what the player can do in the game is as varied and as deep as this game gives us, it's just I really enjoyed myself. I was so close to pulling Obi-Wan to the dark side.
You were so close. You had captured him, and then you'd planned this. You'd planned this for ages. You'd managed to capture Obi-Wan, and you had this card in your hand that was going to let you try and turn him to the dark side. And I managed to oppose it,
Yep.
stop it from happening, and then sent Chewbacca in to rescue him
Yep.
in the Millennium Falcon, which was just a moment of complete brilliance.
It just left my Darth Vader quite speechless almost.
Yeah, Darth Vader was just standing there going,
I was just
"What?"
loud breathing, but no actual talking. So yeah, the strategy factor in it, because everything was based on hero actions, but everything that's happening in the game, your agents are doing. I just overlooked the fact that one of the more important things your agents are doing is actually taking over various sectors, various planets, and preparing the fleet. I couldn't, because the game's strategy seems to be pointed at having one big showdown, finding and attempting to destroy the rebel base, and that would have happened later in the game. Early in the game, and to be fair, most of the game, I've not even realised that, I should probably have forces to attempt that. Well, having said that, you've also, for a good couple of rounds, haven't even defended your base, and if I found it...
Yeah, I did. I left it empty.
Randomly,
I left it empty
which
at one
I
point.
started bubbling about, I'm just gonna find your rebel base because you have no units in it. Hey! So next round, suddenly, there were like 2 Mon Calamari cruisers just showing up there because why not?
There was a point in the game where, like, it was when I had been building up my forces around you, and I think you had discovered the base at that point.
Yes.
And then you were about to move that massive force into that sector where the base is, and I was just saying to you, I'm not going to move the base, Baffle. I'm just not moving the base. And you were completely confused as to why I wouldn't move the base, and then the first thing I did was just completely destroyed that fleet. And it was one of those moments where you could see in your face, you went, oh shit.
It was pretty much that. You keep looking at the board, thinking you have things under control. You have pretty much half a dozen different plans of how to find the rebel base, and suddenly the rebels come to you. And this is pretty much what happened in the films.
Yes.
So again, fantastic feeling. You know?
Yeah. They've done really well with that with this game. Like, I mean, like I say, I'm not like the biggest Star Wars fan or anything, but this game was really shot up into my top 10. Like I say, it's absolute brilliance, and I'm really looking forward to playing it again and actually going the Empire side this time, and then beating your ass again. So,
well, it might just happen, yes, because Rebel scum. I mean, let's face it, they deserve to lose.
Are you just going to deliberately lose because of your dislike for the Rebels?
I don't necessarily dislike them. I just think that the order needs to be restored in the galaxy.
Yeah. Right, cool. Well, I think that pretty much sums up your feelings on Rebellion. It's fucking brilliant.
It pretty much is the F word brilliant.
Right, so that's Star Wars Rebellion. It's quite expensive, I have to say. I think it cost
but you
me
know
about...
what? For the amount of figures you get in it, this box is twice the size of your regular game.
We should say the miniatures in this, and there's a lot of them. They're really, really nice.
Most of them for the Empire.
Yeah. But I think the game cost me about 75 quid. Oof. I kid you not. Oof. But worth it. Yeah. It's been worth it so far. Mm-hmm. So if you are a Star Wars fan and you want to play through it's episodes 4 to 6 it's trying to simulate, the best ones.
Yeah.
Then I pick
it's going to take you a good couple hours. It's not a half-hour game.
I think it took us about 4.5, but we were learning.
We were learning in the first couple.
It picked up towards the end. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a reasonable outlay for a solid 2-player strategy game.
Definitely,
because they're the sort of games you will definitely get your money's worth out.
Aye.
Did you say, Chris, that it can be played with 4 players?
It can be played with 4 players in the same way that War of the Ring can be played with 4 players, and that you would split roles between you, and sort of certain agents would only be used by 1 player. And I've not read the rules for that. It's one of these things where we've tried War of the Ring with 4 people. I wouldn't do it again. And my feelings are the same with Rebellion. I feel like this is the kind of game where you just go up against one other person. It's just a battle of wits, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the options there if you want it. All right,
sweet.
So let's move on then. So let's talk about a wood chopping simulator, Euan.
Aye, it's time to.
We had a quick blast.
It's not really a wood chopping simulator.
It's not, but
there's very little.
I just love that term. I love that term that you came up with.
I think you've got other other games
definite,
that fit. You've got some new ones that fit the bill, but we'll not talk about them just now. Food chain magnate.
Yes.
I'd like to point out that there are certain themes in the general board games that we tend to play. I like to show up for science fiction games. These people
like a
mostly
sci-fi
just
game
play football or like food preparation games, honestly.
We're the casual gamers of the.
Funnily enough, I saw a
wee-
cooking video game that I really fancy getting.
Oh yeah,
It's a multiplayer thing as well. Everybody in a kitchen.
nice.
I think it's called Overcooked. I don't know. I'm going to have to look for it though.
I'd rather play a game based on Bradley Cooper and Burnt. I think that would be hilarious.
Right. Let's talk about Food Chain Magnate, Euan.
Right.
This is a Dutch game, I think, which is... You don't really see very many Dutch designers. So
Dutch.
I don't know if I can pronounce their names, but we're going to go for Jeroen Domein and Joris Versinga.
I think it was a valiant attempt.
Published by Splatterspellen.
Splatterspel.
Yeah, Splatterspellen.
Excellent.
Okay.
So.
Food Chain Magnate, Euan, go.
Well, essentially, you are just building your own company. It's like there's a lot of elements to this game, but it is quite straightforward, really. We played it just 2 players, so maybe the experience. And this might be one worth talking about again. Where we maybe got 7 people
playing it.
Aye,
if we get the 3 or 4 players playing it, I think it's going to be a completely different game.
I mean, essentially, you start off with your CEO, who said, "I'm going to set up a fast food chain."
Yeah.
And in your first round, you send out to your CEO has the ability to hire folk.
Yeah.
That's basically all he can do.
Yeah.
And he can also have 3. He can also be in charge of 3 members of staff.
Yeah.
But at the start, you're not going to have any. Your first round, you're basically hiring one member of staff, and we had a difference a bit just in how we did that at the start, and it definitely affected the game.
Yes. Now that brings us to the cards, though.
Well, yeah, the cards. Well, we'll get into this. So, yeah, essentially, when you're hiring a staff, there's a big selection of cards that represent all of your staff. Now, the only ones you can hire straight off the bat, there's a base level for all of them.
Yeah.
So a lot of them can be sort of upgraded and trained into
promoted, really,
more specialised staff. So, you hire them, and then in the next round, you're basically setting up your management structure, however you want to use it, basically. So there'll be different roles. So, for example, we'll just go. You made a very clever move on the first round, where you hired an HR person who would hire another
extra
person.
people.
So in the next round, you just sent your CEO and that one out to hire 2 more folk, whereas I got straight in with just like a low level fry cook.
Yeah.
Just got them straight away. No. In fact, no. I got. Sorry, it was the
advertising
because that is a big part of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just go through the sort of rota, so yeah, you've got your HR hiring people. There's a whole management tier that you can sort of get into, and they allow you to hire or to have more people in your management chain. You've got the cooks producing, burgers or chips. No, pizza, sorry. There's no chips in this game, actually.
Unfortunately,
chips are implied, I think. You're getting a burger, there's going to be some chips. You've got errand boys that go around and collect drinks. That was a part of the game at the start that I just avoided because I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Thematically, structurally, everything about that, I was just like, what? But it kind of started to make sense. Okay, yeah, there's these outlets, I'm guessing, basically sending them off the cash and carries.
Aye.
I think is the idea. So you're doing all that you're hiring all these different folks. Say the marketing is another thing where you have to basically create demand.
Yes.
And on the board that you have set in front of you, there's a kind of like a
little
neighbourhood,
aye, with some
so there's a grid and roads set up around. We had like 9 squares, I think.
Yeah,
so
the 2-player game was 9 squares, aye.
And on each of those squares you'll have maybe a house appear. It might be blank, or there'll always be a bit of road. So there'll be routes that sort of build up as you set up the board.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get all the houses on the board. You're trying to get these families to come to your restaurant and buy whatever you're hawking.
Yeah.
So to do that, you've got to get your marketing guys out to place billboards or put flyers around streets. I mean, the basic one's placing a billboard, which you have to basically place right next to a house.
Yeah. That house has to be sitting looking at that billboard 24 hours a day.
Say, I'm selling burgers. You whack it up outside there. So it didn't make it. The way we sort of played the game at the start, I kind of went straight up for production, like marketing and production.
Yeah.
So I was the first to actually market burgers and sell one to a family. But it starts getting more complicated. Where lots of if you're marketing something in a 2-player game, we had some conflict even there where it was to sell to a house. You have to basically be selling everything that they want.
Yeah.
So when you've got multiple players just throwing out marketing campaigns, this is what I'm going to be interested to see.
And when we get more players,
I just see there being rounds where nobody's going to be able to sell anything.
Yeah, because you have
there's going to be a very, very cruel system.
It's like you say, if people are throwing up advertising campaigns everywhere, those houses are then generating demand for all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So it can
you
be
have to
burgers
all of it.
and pizza and lemonade, for example. If they're wanting all three of those things, you have to be selling all three of those things in order to sell anything.
Yeah.
If you've only got two of them, they won't buy anything.
They won't buy. They won't even come to you.
So they won't come to you. So then it's you're right. In the 2-player game, it wasn't that bad because we kind of just focused on different.
We kind
things.
of went for specific things. By the end, there was like almost going to be a bit of a clash, and then it was just
then the game ended.
Yeah.
But when it gets to like 3-4 players, when people are just there's going to be crossover all the time and stuff like that. People are going to they're not going to be able to specialise. They're going to have to start selling other things.
That's something I'm going to be interested to see. I mean, that's sort of covered. I mean, basically, that is the game essentially. You're selling to these families, and you can get more houses on the board. There's staff that let you do that. You can sort of specialise.
Yeah, you get
the
property
management
developers
track,
and stuff.
There's a lot of different ones you can get from that, where things like you can raise or lower prices, which affects tie breaks.
Because it affects whether people will come to your restaurant or not. Because if you've got 2 restaurants selling exactly the same thing, people will go to the one that's selling it for cheaper.
Yeah.
And you've got to be kind of careful of that, because if you're creating demand, if you've got marketing campaigns ongoing and there's somebody else sitting next to you that's selling that stuff for cheaper, you're just screwing yourself over. So, and that's the kind of decisions you have to make in this game. Like, I can see it being like...
But with the way like it becoming more chaotic with more players, I can just see a lot of really cruel things happening.
Oh yeah,
in this
definitely.
Game.
But I don't think this game tries to hide the fact that it's cruel.
No,
because... I'm just going to read a little bit of what's...
Yeah, the blurbs are great. Like I say, this actually, the one thing I want to say about this game is like the box is beautiful. I really love
you love the art style as well, like and the little the player aids are like menus as well.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
That is.
But yeah, I'm just going to read this bit on the back here. It says. Lemonade, they want lemonade. What is the world coming to? I want commercials for burgers on all channels every 15 minutes. We're the home of the original burger, not a hippie health haven. Place a billboard next to that new house in the corner. I want them craving beer every second they sit in their posh new garden. This is the kind of game that this is. This is not hiding the fact that this is just like...
This is who they want you to become. You have to be a brutal CEO.
Now, Pawel, you've sat there and look at complete disbelief on your face for the past 10 minutes or so. What are you thinking?
I'm an IT guy, but I work in a hotel.
I think this is why you don't really go for the man. You really need escapism.
Escapism is what I do need. Yes, I enjoy quite a bit of it. I work in a hotel with like 6 different F&B outlets and stuff like this. I wouldn't consider a game like this to actually be escapism. It sounds like something that I take part in on a daily basis.
Well, for somebody, I mean, speaking as somebody who doesn't have a career or like a defined like skill set, for me, it's escapism to pretend to be like a normal person.
A normal? I don't think this game emulates normalcy.
So you're not looking forward to IT Simulator 2016?
What?
They see, I've made that up, but that probably exists.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. You know,
go make yourself a coffee. Stare at us. Go make yourself another coffee. Angrily answer a phone call from a junior employee who doesn't know how to get his computer switch on.
It does happen, yes. So, this game sounds interesting, but
Don't lie, Pavel. This game sounds boring as fuck.
But not from a thematic point of view. It doesn't have lasers, aliens, dragons, magic, cybernetics.
Oh, that's coming in the expansion.
Ah, okay then.
There's blimps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's blimps.
Yeah, you can get blimps.
There's waitresses.
There's waitresses.
Do you like if you like that kind of thing? I don't know.
Let's move on then.
There's junior vice presidents.
Yeah.
I have to deal with those from time to time.
There's an entire chain of
I have to deal with those as well.
Yep. Well, you hire a junior manager, and then you can kind of you work him up the ladder.
Yeah.
And he becomes a more efficient manager to the point that he can basically handle about 10 folk, whereas the CEO never manages to handle more than 3.
Yeah, he's too busy smoking cigars.
Yeah.
Burning $50
I
notes.
think one of the reasons why this game doesn't appeal to me as much as it probably could is because it actually sounds too realistic. It's a bit.
I think it is like quite dry. Like, I mean, it's when you set up your little management chain, it is kind of like this does feel very real and just sort of quite mundane.
But there's a game in it. That's the thing.
Aye,
There's
I
a game
think
in
that's
it,
it.
and it's quite a strategic game as
Yeah.
well. Like there's a lot of thinking to be done in this game. I can see this. Like there's definitely going to be some analysis paralysis going on with this game. But it's good. I mean, it's decent. We only played a 2-player game. I really want to play it 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Just to see that chaos that it's going to cause. But
I like to say, I think we should come back with an assessment of
yeah, definitely
of a larger scale game.
So Pavel, next week,
this
we're
will be
playing.
Next week, I'm in the Highlands. Next time,
Running away from
I'm
this
given
board
a
game.
choice between Star Wars Rebellion and this game. I might just go for Star Wars Rebellion.
Who says you're getting the choice?
Man, I need to start buying board games.
Yeah, you really do.
I'm gonna get one in about half a year. A Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
It's actually a science fiction game.
What is it?
Endure the stars.
Endure the Stars.
Yes,
Nice.
you have to endure the stars.
Okay, well that probably wraps up our board gaming section then. So yeah, Food Chain Magnet. You want to rate that, actually, Euan?
I'll give it 5 Dutch burgers out of
5 Dutch burgers.
I think 7.
Right, nice
Yeah.
one.
Just because I'm not really too sure.
Right, I'll give it 8 human resources managers.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which is far too many human resources
Probably,
managers.
yeah,
like, that's way too many for one company.
That's what happens, though. I mean, you pick them all up. What are you supposed to do?
No,
Right.
I can't rate it myself because I've not played it, but it doesn't really feel Uncharted 4 like.
No.
You can't just compare everything to Uncharted 4.
I have to now.
I am highly sceptical of that rating system, by the way.
Me too, but I have to. I mean, pastries depend on it.
I
Yeah, the
see.
pastries, yeah.
I get pastries whenever I actually plug in this particular rating system.
Okay.
Refer to the previous episode if you have no idea what Pavel's
Yeah.
talking about.
Well,
If
we
you
like to
have no
think we're-
idea what I'm talking about, that's probably common.
I like to think we're building a narrative here through these episodes.
You like a bit of narrative.
I like a wee narrative.
Right. Well, here's a narrative. Go make me a cup of tea. It's break time.
All right.
Right, we'll be back in a minute. Cheers.
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Off to make a cup of tea.
We are back. That was a lovely break.
I enjoyed it.
Couple of weeks away. Mallorca again.
Well, it's almost this sort of temperature outside, yeah.
In Scotland, it's just crazy, isn't it?
I think it's disgraceful.
You should write a letter of complaint to the Prime Minister.
Hopefully we can keep the weather chat to a minimum.
Nah,
Future
let's keep that going.
episodes.
Scotland update. Right, Pavel, let's talk about some video games, and you're going to tell us about a big game you've been playing.
It's a reasonably sized game, I'm going to say. It's actually not a big game yet, which is going to be a part of my review, I would say. Total War is a big franchise, and I suppose when we're talking about Total War Warhammer, we have to mention the previous Total Wars yet. Who's making Total War, remind me?
Sega and
Sega.
Creative Assembly.
Sega.
Probably used to be somebody else at the very humble beginnings, which even back then, which was like 10 or 15 years ago, Total War was fairly well known for its strategy games. The franchise...
It's always been Creative Assembly that's developed
Creative
it.
Assembly,
Yeah. And Sega are the publishers right now.
I remember Total War when it started with whatever samurai armies
Shogun.
running
I
around.
remember
Shogun,
playing
Shogun was good.
Decent game.
And it was a brilliant game. And those games are still brilliant. But unfortunately nowadays, the way this franchise is being sold is not very popular with fans.
Yeah.
It started probably a good couple of years ago with Total War Rome, possibly.
Yeah, it was Rome 2.
And then Shogun 2 as well, Rome 2, and then Attila, and the dreaded DLCs. Now, Total War is nowadays a very strange franchise because they're excellent games. They may be bugged from time to time, a little bit, not too bad. That's definitely not as bad as some of the major AAA games nowadays. But what Total War, as much as it's amazingly well made and really well playable, it's just hated and loved at the same time. You're gonna see a trailer for a new Total War game or for an add-on to a Total War, and it's going to have more dislikes than likes on whatever YouTube or other Twitch it's showing up. And still, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people buying it, which is really just an expression of the fans' dislike of the whole DLC.
Well, why is that though?
Yeah, what's it?
Because they have, and by they I mean Sega probably.
Yeah.
A marketing strategy that is becoming more common and, more and more hated by players nowadays, which is releasing a game that seems full, but isn't really, because somebody holds a lot of stuff on the side to sell it later as DLCs. Now, in some games, that's, easier to recognize. In some games, it's going to be more difficult. If you have a Witcher game, which is huge to begin with, and then you get, 16 add-ons, which are pretty much free of charge because they're just tiny little things, and then you get, a sizable add-on.
Pretty big add-ons for it.
Yeah, and then you get whatever Blood and Wine, which is 20 hours of gameplay, then you don't feel cheated when you're paying for it. It wasn't part of the main storyline, it wasn't part of the main game. It's an actual DLC. But if you... Total War games are very modular because you get your main gameplay component, which is a strategy game and a tactics game. All Total War games will have your main strategy map, which is turn-based with various provinces that you're trying to win over, various armies and agents moving about. Again, turn-based. Your economy going around and blah blah blah. Various settings you're going to have, whether it's ancient Rome, whether it's ancient Japan. There's been Total Wars and I think...
There was medieval as well.
There was Total War medieval, there was Total War and the Napoleon Wars, there was Total War, I think, and the fledgling American colony, which I understand used to be you guys, but then they've decided to be United States, and they're not United Kingdom anymore.
No. We're not accepting that, though, are we?
Fair enough. So the game is pretty much about that, not accepting it. Plenty of games, and what you always get is obviously various factions that make war, whether this is on the big map and turn-based decisions you make, or the tactical maps where the game becomes a real-time strategy or real-time tactics with various units moving about whatever hills and woodlands.
Now that part of the game that was the big thing about the Total War series. I mean, because I remember Total War before it existed, it was actually it was on a TV show. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Where they basically got two teams of people. It was like a game show almost, where they got, or one team. Well, no, it was one team of people, wasn't it? And they were up against a computer-controlled thing, but they were fighting real historical battles, and it was just to see if they could win this. This is how this Total War actually came about.
All right.
And that was the big thing, and that's what got me interested in it. And when whatever the first one was it?
I think Shogun was the first
Shogun.
one.
Shogun was the first one, but I think I got Medieval. I think that was the first one I got, and then I got Rome, and Rome is my favourite one.
Yeah.
Rome is brilliant.
And Rome tends to be people's favourite.
Yeah, it's really, really good. But the tactics battles thing with all the different types of units, that was done so well. And that was the big pull for Total War.
This is the strength of the whole franchise. Ever since then, it was recognised that this is pretty much why people are buying those games, and people keep buying those games, and there's so many of them coming out, which is part of the problem. Because if you have Total Rome 2, which is doing things exceptionally well, then why not release, Attila for a full price, and then start releasing DLCs for Attila as well, and then just keep doing things like this. But the point is, with all the DLCs really, is that at some point people start asking questions, whereas what they buying to begin with is a full game or an actual trimmed down game, and they should be expecting to spend a lot more money in order to get what they consider full game. So that was the case recently with Total War Rome 2 and Attila.
What sort of stuff are they actually selling in the DLC though?
So this is the modular part of the game. If you have, say, ancient Rome period, you're going to have your Europe map, well, Europe and Middle East, and you're going to have factions. You're going to have so many different tribes. So you can buy Total War Rome 2 with, 7, 8, 9 factions.
Okay.
Plenty of stuff to play. But then there's going to be people who played Total War Rome 1 and know that there should be really like 30 different factions.
Oh, so there's a difference with the previous game that essentially you're updating it, but you're not.
They want their previous factions. They have to wait for them. They have to pay for them.
Yeah.
People, because this franchise has been around for so long, people know what sort of variety to expect from Total War, how many tiers of more advanced units there can be, how many factions.
It's amazing the naivety of a lot of game developers about their own customers.
You would think it's naivety, but
I suppose they still make money.
Yeah, they're still making money out of it. So
they know that people will buy it.
Yeah.
And Total War Warhammer is their most brilliant and obvious thing to do, because you're getting pretty much all your Total War fans, and you're getting a hell lot of Warhammer fans all together. This game has sold already so well that it's made the company billions, and well done, why not? And it's a very good game. I think the setting of Warhammer is really working well for the way this game works on the strategic level, or on your turn-based map. And again, on the tactical level, where instead of your traditional units, which you also get, you can also have your trolls running around, some sort of necromantic bats flying around, and other monstrosities and magic. So Warhammer really plays well into the Total War idea. But you know what? You got 4 races to play with. 4 very distinctively, different races. So there is a lot of diversity. There is a lot of differences between how you play them, and what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. So you would say, the game is giving you enough variety to have fun, replayability, great game. Yeah. But then again, from the point of view of a Warhammer fan, or from the point of view of a Total War fan, you know that it's not even 1/3.
Yeah.
In terms of factions you should have, and you know that
there's no scathing.
Even exactly, there's no scathing.
This is what I'm reading here. There's 4 playable factions: dwarfs, men, orcs, and the vampire counts. And already, if you want the Chaos Warriors, you're gonna have to pay for them.
Well, Yeah, you get them for free if you pre-order, yeah? But this is another way of...
Yeah, it's just getting more money out of people for something that they should have had anyway.
Yes. There's so many other factions you should have, but also, if you've played any of the previous Total War games, you know how many different units you would have in any given faction. And this game, as well as it's done, you can see that you have a very basic structure of your starting units and your elite units, and that's pretty much it. In about 2 years' time, this game will be 3 times as big.
Yeah.
If you spend your money.
Totally.
And you know what? I'm gonna keep spending money. That's another problem. And so many other people will as well, because it's a brilliant game. It plays fantastic, and it lives up to all the fantasies that Warhammer fans would have. And Sega knows it, and they're gonna milk all that money off us, and we'll spend it.
You will, because consumers are idiots.
As I've said before,
I'm an idiot. I'm gonna spend money on that.
Something about the nerd currency. It's just the most easily ripped off and gained.
And you know what? You could probably.
I honestly think this should be an episode. We should a consumer watch episode where we're like, nerds, get a fucking grip, all right? Just sort yourselves out. Like, know when you're being ripped off, and stop buying Funko Pop vinyl toys, right? Stop buying Loot Crate. Stop paying for DLC, which is a complete obvious rip-off, right? Get your act together.
But the problem is...
No. There is no argument against this.
You have a brilliant game. You want your favourite units. You want your favourite factions. Mm-hmm. So you can either try to wage war against the system, or you can...
Well, that's the only way you're going to get any change.
Paying money.
But you've got to take the system down.
Because let's face it, nerds live empty lives, and they're just trying to fill the void.
They need something to spend their fast wealth on.
You can either be bitter about not having Skaven or Wood Elves in Total War Warhammer, or you can
bend over and take it, basically.
Or you can feel... That's pretty much it.
Right, fair enough. I'm not faulty for it. You know what you want, and you're paying for it. Paying the price.
But the thing is, you know that you're paying more than you should have. You know that this game should have been bigger.
Okay,
guys.
A little
bit of a part of you just feel violated.
Total War franchise will forever be controversial nowadays.
It's interesting that, because I wasn't even aware it was still going in any large capacity.
It's getting worse and worse. But the problem is, it's getting worse in terms of how they sell it, but the quality of game is really going up and up as well.
Right.
Total War Warhammer is brilliant.
But is it not also becoming slightly divided from mainstream game? Like, because it's not something... I mean, there's a lot of sort of scenes like that on the PC, for PC gamers.
Well, exactly, it's a PC gaming, so
series. It's
got its own crowd.
Yeah.
Right, so Pavel, I just want to ask, what's the actual campaign like in this game?
4 different campaigns, you would think. Although, there are similarities.
Is it story-driven? Or is it actually more like the sort of other Total War games where you're just basically moving around on a map trying to...
Well, you would think that, but in Total War, especially recent Total Wars, there's usually a scenario, whether it's an Attila game or Rome game.
Yeah, but then you were pretty much free to do what you wanted, though.
Oh, yeah, it's always going to be fairly sandbox-ish, at least until some conditions in the scenario you're playing are met. So, if you're playing Shogun 2, you know that at some point, the whole of Japan will be against you, because you're obviously trying to become a Shogun. If you're playing Attila, you're pretty much building up your empire. Sorry, not Attila, Rome 2, yeah? You're building up your empire, but at some point, the barbarians will start knocking.
Yeah.
If you're playing Attila, I think it's all about the dying of the previous Roman Empire and all the new players getting on the scene. I've not played that much. In Warhammer, at the moment, there is one type of scenario. So regardless of which faction you play, and obviously have different mechanics based on which faction you play, you can pretty much expect that at some point during the game, probably at, I don't know, a couple of hundreds of turns later, the chaos will come knocking. which is what happens in Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game, yeah? It's a world on the brink of destruction. The apocalypse is coming.
You've got to just throw in that role-playing reference, haven't you? You just can't help yourself.
I'm sorry, this is Warhammer. What did you expect?
This was a Warhammer roleplay.
You let that one sail over your head there, Euan. You didn't even notice him doing that.
Regardless of which faction you play, chaos is coming for you. So at some point you stop building your empire and you start just trying to survive. I've not got that far, but I know that this is what it's going to come down to. There's going to be potentially other scenarios in the future, given that not everybody in the world of Warhammer is directly endangered by the coming of the Chaos Hordes. And also because I think Sega/Creative Assembly actually mentioned that there's going to be 3 Total War Warhammer games released, one next to the other, with the map that's going to sort of combine all 3. And this is another level of DLC idea, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, all you're trying to really do is build up as big an empire as you can before chaos comes.
Excellent. And that's what we're all doing in real life.
It feels a little bit less sandboxy than previous games.
Right.
If you're playing Shogun or Attila or Rome 2 or other games like this, you have plenty of choice. Even though those games are supposedly, based on history, you don't know this history. You're just a gamer, so you just choose to do whatever you like. But because those factions are so different from each other, and each of them is, just locked up in a certain, I'm gonna say, scenario of its own. Whether you're a vampire count or emperor, whatever Karl Franz, you end up making the same choices simply because those are the only ones available for you. The map of the old world isn't as big as the map of Europe. And there's plenty of mountains around, so a bit less sandboxy,
right.
And the choices you make are based on the morality of your race. Again, you can't just choose to be, a vicious human or a peace-loving orc. But
cool.
Yeah, the chaos is coming.
Right, excellent. Let's wrap that one up there then.
Brilliant game. Everybody's pissed off at it.
I'm not entirely sure how you feel about this game.
Yeah.
But this is the fact.
You sat and ranted for about 10 solid minutes about the Total War series.
Well,
and you're just sitting there going, it's fucking brilliant.
You go to Total War forums and you'll realise everyone's playing it, complaining about it, and then going back to play it some more.
It's a bittersweet experience.
Yes.
Right, cool. You want to give this a rating, Pawel?
It's awesome!
Jesus, stop shouting.
I'm sorry, that was my...
I'll give it a rating. Right. Spousal abuse.
Well, I don't know, is that praise? I just don't know. Right, let's move on then. Euan, what have you been playing?
I've had a wee shot on Galaxy. Galaxy. It's got all sorts of weird Japanese writing around it.
I expect the same level of emotions from you now.
I think it's hard to really get that emotional.
Let's spell that, actually. That's GALAK-Z.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. It's basically a 2D space shooter sort of thing. It's inspired by the company that make it, 17-bit studios, that have sort of inspired by 16-bit games and kind of modernising them, but sort of building up the mechanics and everything like that. And they've done quite a good job with this. Essentially it's you're sort of flying about these kind of... they're all randomly generated levels, but there'll be generally specific missions that you've got to do in them. You've got your wee ship that's sort of just kind of floating through space. And there's thrusters on either end of the ship, so you can sort of move it forward and backward. There's like a boost thruster that will give you a really quick... and the momentum will carry you. Yeah. So if you sort of boost and you're going with it, you'll just float off in that direction,
Right,
bump
right,
into
right.
something if you get to it or whatever.
So actual physics then.
Yeah. It's based in space physics, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. It's sort of the movement in it takes a bit of getting used to. Using the thrusters and knowing which way you're facing, so that you're like, because obviously you can spin about to shoot and everything like that, so you can end up just firing yourself totally in the wrong direction. And you've got various sort of enemies around. There's factions in this, so like when you're going off into these levels, you're sort of with some ship who you're out. I'm not entirely sure what you're doing, trying to get these crystals, something like that.
Some sort of MacGuffin.
Yeah. And there's some evil. There's like an empire. There's this weird empire that are their
empires
enemies.
are always evil.
Empires are always evil. There's like space bug things. There's space pirates and stuff like that. But these sort of factions, they'll fight against each other as well.
All right. Right.
So if you find some like empire guys, they might be fighting pirates or getting attacked by bugs or whatever like that. You can shoot whatever. Your little ship also can switch forms into it fires lasers normally and missiles. You press triangle on the PlayStation anyway, and it switches to a sort of like a mech thing, like your Gundam sort of thing with a beam saber.
Right.
And you can do some quite cool stuff with that, and you can kind of like you can boost like straight into like a group of folks, switch into your sort of mech form and start hacking away with this, and it's like. It's quite cool when you pull off stuff like that and you start getting the movement right. I kind of got the hang of it sort of towards the end of it when I was sort of finally not bumping into just about every other thing. You kind of start using the thrusters and moving about properly so you can sort of negotiate. Because there's a lot of like paths kind of to follow. There'll be like rocks in the way and things like that. But most of the stuff you can sort of destroy, but there's occasionally you get sort of led down.
So here is a question, because this game is based on either an anime or...
Yeah, it's very strong anime
themed.
influences. Like,
but I think from your wee ship, there is a portrait, an animated portrait of your pilot in the bottom left corner, yeah?
That's correct, yeah.
And that little dude is actually reactive.
So when you're like constantly like firing your lasers, he's like it's just going mental with it and
that's
stuff
brilliant.
like that. Yeah, and he's like screaming when his my shields are down and everything like that. So you have like shields and health in the.
I like this.
It's a lot.
It's
of
those
fun.
little things.
Yeah, lots of little things in this game that kind of and that's the sort of thing. I guess that's the strength of doing these kind of revamped 2D games where it's like, okay, you're maybe not going to get everything into the gameplay, so make a decent looking game, add lots of little features like that, and it does look amazing, this game.
Yeah.
Like the whole the kind of anime inspired design of it, because it's not like done by a Japanese studio just doing a generic anime thing. It's something that's taken inspiration from it. It definitely has its own look to it and everything like that, but it's kind of, you can see where it's rooted in that.
It does look quite fun. I mean, I'm sitting watching
a
couple
you're
of
both sitting watching videos
like
of it as I talk about
Aye, well, because I think it's on my PlayStation. Like, I think it was
Well,
a PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, it was free on
download,
PlayStation.
wasn't
I don't
it?
think it is
months ago.
anymore. You can pick it up for about, I think it was $10 on Steam, so it's probably around that,
Right.
So you're looking at maybe about £7-8, something like that.
Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know why I haven't noticed this game.
Aye,
It's like, because I've definitely saw it there and I've just never actually played it. So
it's just a lot of fun.
But yeah, it does look like quite good fun.
From what I can gather, some of the, because I kind of just played through some of the earlier stages, and I didn't have a lot of trouble really. There was a couple of times I came close to dying. But generally wasn't too bad. Looking at some of the later, like, it does get quite challenging. So you kind of have to get to grips with moving this ship about and not tanning into things all the time. And like, you can sort of be stealthy as well. Like, you can sneak up on ships because you'll see their sort of field of vision, and as long as you're not boosting about the place, they're not going to hear you. So you can use your thrusters a small amount, and there's a sound indicator.
Yeah.
So it's maybe not entirely physics.
There goes the physics.
So yeah, using stealth in space is an odd concept, but like, it kind of makes sense in the game. You can kind of see where they're looking, and you can kind of like, okay, well, if I'm not using my thrusters at all, I'm not drawing any at it, so you can kind of draw. If you're getting the momentum, you kind of drop on them, and then just suddenly boost in and starts just hacking them to bits. There's stuff like that. It can be quite fun. Yeah, I mean that's basically it. Really, it's a very simple game, but it's a lot of fun, and I'd highly recommend it. Even now that it is at a price, it's
at a premium.
Yeah, it's definitely worth for what £6-7 it'll be.
I might give that a go tonight. Actually, that looks like a good
Have
fun.
a go.
Yep. So that's Galaxy
by
17-bit.
Yep.
It's
and I think they are actually a Japanese studio. But the company, I read up a bit about it.
Let's have a look.
Is it on Steam?
It is on Steam, yeah. It's on Steam, PlayStation 4. I don't know if it's on Xbox. I never check up the Xbox, because who does that?
It's PS4, Microsoft Windows, OS X, and Linux.
Right.
So, no Xbox.
Right. Again, get it up, you Xbox fans.
And I can't quickly find anything out about 17-bit, but yeah, I think they might be Japanese.
Right.
So yeah, we rating there, Euan?
Yeah, like better there.
Oh, excellent. Right, let's wrap things up a bit now, because I've not really been playing anything new. Well, I dabbled with a couple of things, but not enough to really speak about them yet. But what I did do was I've been going back and sort of playing some of the games that I've been left half finished. Mm-hmm. So I finished the story in Far Cry Primal. Finally.
You said you'd be back to this one, and
I did say a few episodes ago that I would come back to this, and I did.
Did you pet enough animals?
I petted all the animals all the time.
How many times did you get burned?
Not as many as you did in that 5-second play that you had.
It seems to be a recurring theme of people. Have a go at Far Cry Primal, that'll be fun.
Now, what I'll say about Far Cry Primal is that it was a good idea. Like, it's a good idea. It had this Stone Age setting and everything like that, and like it was reasonably well executed, but it just did drag on a bit. Like it got pretty repetitive in the end, and I think the only thing that really kept me going with it is the fact that the game's actually really pretty. Like, there were points when I was sitting playing that where I would stop and just sort of like look up, and then there's a waterfall there and everything, and it's all just like unspoiled land because it's the Stone Age. There's no houses or anything like that about the place.
But you seem to be doing, like, I did see you doing a lot of quite similar missions, sort of thing, and I guess they can kind of throw, because it's easy to just throw that stuff in there again.
And you started to do that sort of obsessive, like, there's 16 campfires or whatever it is, so it's like, I'm going to get all the campfires, like, I'm just going to go and get all these things and blah blah blah. I was kind of disappointed in they made a big deal about these great hunts that you could go on, so you could go and hunt these specifically huge animals or whatever. So a huge mammoth, and there was a big, like, there was a pride of lions that you had to go and kill and stuff like that. And they were kind of disappointing because they kind of made this massive deal that, like, if you die during doing this, when you come back, the animal will still have the same health that it had when you left, sort of thing, when you died, so that you could just wear it down. Was the idea. And I killed them all first time. It was just kind of disappointing because I was just like, alright, this is going to be like the epic battle sort of thing, and it wasn't really. But I mean, they were quite interesting.
Yeah, they were more about setting up how you're going to hunt them. And
and that was the thing, because you could set up traps and stuff like that. You could use your wood that you'd collected to set up snares and all these kind of things to stop them. And I think that's what kind of helped, was just the fact that you could do these things. I think the game tried to do some things where it was like it could. You were, like I said the last time when I talked about it, you were limited to the kind of weapons you can use. So you're pretty much limited to using bows and arrows, clubs, spears. And then various other things, like you can get sting bombs, which are basically just beehives, and you could also get berserk bombs, like these sort of poison gas thing that you could throw at people that would make them all go insane and start hitting each other. But the game tried to sort of set up these things so that you could do all of these things and like be really stealthy about it and all that kind of thing, but I don't think it pulled it off that well, because it just seemed that you would come up with a plan sort of thing, and then it would all just go to hell within seconds. It's just everything just happens at once.
That's quite Far Cry-esque, though.
It is a bit, I suppose,
like something
but
always cocks up.
Remember that time when the entire game happened to you when you played it for 5 minutes?
That's the sort of thing that
was
happen,
exactly what happened. Like, everything just suddenly you're attacked by like a leopard that's just come out of nowhere. Your animal has run off and started killing somebody. You haven't told it to do that.
Suddenly everybody's on fire.
Suddenly everything's on fire all of a sudden, and it's just like stuff like that was happening in the game when you're trying to be stealthy as hell.
Exasperated.
It's like, I'm just going to sneak into this little village and take everybody out and everything, and it's like, no, you can't do that because there's a mammoth just run at you. Like, it's just it just didn't quite work. Yeah, but I mean, it's a decent game though.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know what the deal is with the sort of DLC or anything that's coming out for it. I've not really checked into it, but it'd be quite interesting to see it. One of the things I have to say as well is that the boss battles, there's only really 2 in the game, because there's 2 tribes that you're fighting against, and one's like they're supposed to be like Neanderthals basically, and you I think the game's suggesting that you wiped out the Neanderthals sort of thing.
Right, you're the missing link.
And the last one, like, there's this sort of like, it's a bit of a spoiler here, but you do capture one of the guys during the game from that tribe and take him back to your camp, and you keep him imprisoned and stuff like that, but you go and do missions for him. And the last thing you do after you kill the leader of that tribe is go back and speak to him, but he's got this brain fire, he calls it. Basically, like, his tribe is dying out because they're all cannibals and it's making them ill. And his head's, like, throbbing all the time, basically. And you go back and he asks you to kill him, and you kill him. You know, and it's kind of weird because there's no, like, a choice in this or anything. It's just like, you just get this cutscene where you're just like, oh yeah, please kill me, and then you just get your knife out and stab him. Like,
it's a lot of...
and it's
I think there's something about the fact, because it tries to use like Far Cry and like the previous games where I find first person to be a bit disorientating sometimes, especially the stuff that they try to do in those games, and things will happen and you're just like, you don't really feel, it feels a wee bit disorientating because it's not quite natural. It's difficult to describe, but you know, they kind of put in a lot of stuff like that in Far Cry 3 and 4 that just They've done their best with it, but no matter what you do, it always feels sloppy because it's in that perspective.
I know what you mean. It is kind of weird that. I have quite a few memorable moments in that game. Like petting the animals is just brilliant. It was a brilliant idea, just to let you like have your little animals with you that you can pet, and you know, but being able to ride them as well. Like getting on the back of one of those mammoths and just like storming about the place was hilarious. You get a saber-toothed tiger at one point, you can jump on the back of that and ride like fuck, like fast as hell. And
you were also showing me like attacks with them.
So you can actually attack when you're on the back of these things. But the saber-toothed tiger in particular was quite satisfying when I was trying to shoot somebody for ages and kept missing, and I just got really annoyed, so I just charged at him instead on the back of the saber-toothed tiger and pressed the attack button. And there was just this nice little animation, just the saber-toothed tiger puts its paw up and then chomps its neck. Just like pretty gruesome, but at the same time, you're just like, it's nice that they added that in, you know.
That's cool.
But I did quite enjoy it in the end. It was a bit of a slog at times. Did feel like it was just.
Do you think like you would have been just as happy buying like a full game like that, and if it to just be a shorter, tighter?
Yeah, I think so. I think
there's like a few games like where they just feel like talked about, and we've not talked about on this podcast, which might be one to do at some point, is Alien Isolation.
Yeah,
and that has a real problem with that. It's almost a perfect game if they just lop off a good like 2/3 of the game. It would be brilliant, and I would have paid full price for that experience.
I mean, you're right. This is a different discussion, but I agree with you totally. Games. Quite a lot of games now, it's almost like developers feel like they have to fill their games with shit. Like, just like people will be disappointed if they don't. Oh, I guess a million collectibles, like, go and collect all these things. It's like, why?
Just got to put something in for the obsessives.
Yeah, that's it.
Some of us do like a lengthy game.
Yeah, but it's not lengthy games that I've got a problem with. It's games that just are lengthy when they don't need to be.
No, fair enough, yeah.
Like you say, with Alien Isolation is a perfect example of that. There's just, that game is far too long for what it is.
Whereas, like, I look at The Witcher and I go, okay, fair enough, this is a big game, but this is...
But every quest is a story.
Matters.
But it's worth every minute, and that's different, you know.
Different?
What?
say different.
So, you know, there are actual repeatable quests in Fallout 4.
Sorry?
There are actual repeatable, unending quests in Fallout 4.
Yeah, but that's only if you want. That's different because that's not really tied into the.
A dozen times at least.
Yeah, but that's not really tied into the game's main story or
not
anything.
At all.
Are they sort of like Memorkova style things for grinding and getting stuff out of loot?
But that's basically just for people that have finished the story in Fallout 4, done everything else, but they still want to play Fallout 4. You know.
Well, I ended up just not doing the story because I kept getting those quests.
I've still not finished that either. always distracted by side quests in those types of games. Skyrim in particular.
Oh, Skyrim!
Skyrim, I got nowhere with the main story. I just ran off into the distance and just did what I wanted.
Nobody gets to the first village.
Never finished Fallout 3 actually. But I was
Oh,
too
no.
amused by what I'd made Liam Neeson look like in that game. So.
Everybody did that. Now the thing about Skyrim was getting to that first village and punching a chicken. That's the best thing.
What?
That's a valuable animal. Everybody loses their shit when you do that.
Oh man, I accidentally punched the chicken in Skyrim during a fist fight with somebody else. It was like a mission. It was like you could fight this guy. Somehow somebody managed to swing a punch that hit a chicken, and the next thing I know, the whole place is getting and they're going mental.
It's amazing that people will kill you for punching a chicken. Amazing.
They're a valuable animal.
Okay, well, so that was my
seriously
experience
digressed
with, that was my experience with Far Cry Primal,
Okay.
and some experiences with Fallout 4 and Skyrim.
Good that you could wrap up a game.
Yeah. So I have finished a game.
Chris has
There we
completed
go.
a game.
I've done it.
We're very proud of you.
Yeah. Thank you. So that was episode 21. What did you think of that?
I think there was a lot of digressions. We apologise.
No, I'm not apologising.
I don't know. I thought there was some solid stuff in there. You guys did a really good review of Rebellion. I enjoyed that.
Oh yeah.
Just being able to sit there and listen to it.
Are you sure you want to be on this podcast?
I'm not sure.
Or you just want to sit in the room and listen?
I think, alright, is this my last episode?
You seem to enjoy listening to it more.
I just can't wait for when this is over and I can just go and listen to some of our podcast.
Yeah, you've got another 30 years till retirement, mate.
Aye.
Right, let's do the internet shit.
Oh yeah.
We are part of the Podnose network. Let's get that one in.
Yep.
This is a network of podcasts.
Networks
believe
of
it or not.
podcasts of various subjects. There's a few actually being added on. I've noticed a couple being added on even this week.
A couple of new ones.
Yeah.
Right, well, go and check
There's
that
a
out.
comic book, one about indie comic books.
Right.
Episodes starting soon, and various others.
Aye. Well, if you want to check that out, that's www.podnose.com. And you can listen to us on there as well. There is a player on the website.
Yes.
Our email address, if you want to send us any comments, suggestions, etc., is firstplayertoken@gmail.com. And now that's FIRST. We're going to have to start making a difference in these, so first player token.
Because we're still waiting for that fan mail.
Yeah, we're still waiting for it,
Yep.
so we can only assume that you've been writing it wrong.
Aye.
Now, we're on Facebook, you can find us there. We're also on Twitter, but that's at First Player Token, as in the number 1, then ST Player Token. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes. We have a YouTube channel, which has various videos on, generally me pissing about on video
Just
games.
wrecking up video games.
And my Twitch username is Unnecessary Chris, and I've not really done very much lately, but I am going to get round to doing the Uncharted playthroughs very soon. So look out for that.
Teased 2 weeks ago.
I teased it 2 weeks ago. I've been busy drinking. Okay,
Fair enough.
it's the summer.
You've been drinking. That's all.
Anything you want to add, Pavel?
You're supposed to drink water in summer.
Ewan?
I remember the first time I had a glass of water.
Well, thanks for
And the last
listening. That was episode 21. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Bye.
Bye.